Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and this time I am back for a video that I never ever thought I would have to record. Because I'm recording this early Sunday morning, June 30th, 2024. And unfortunately, I gotta let you guys know that on Saturday, June 29th, 2024, we lost a legend in the game accessibility community. Yesterday, I woke up to the news that Brandon Cole, aka SuperBlindMan, passed away early that morning. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I and anybody who knows anything about game accessibility, anyone who follows that community, has probably known of Brandon, has worked with Brandon, or for certain has been impacted by Brandon and his work, myself included. I'm not doing this video for views, for subscribers, for anything like that. I just wanted to do a kind of a tribute video to Brandon, and just share some of my memories about him. I've worked with him a few times, fair few times in different ways in the past few years. But beyond myself, I just, like, again, I just want to do a tribute video to him, because he's done so much. Again, he's done so much for the game accessibility community, especially in the blindness, low vision game accessibility community. I tried recording a video for this yesterday, but it was kind of all over the place. It was a mess. I was not happy with it, and I'm glad I didn't release it. So we're going to try it again. Hopefully I can be a little more coherent this time. I guess I'll start with some of my memories because, like I said, I've worked with him. I've never met SuperBlindMan. I've never met him in person. I've never met Brandon in person before. But I have worked with him virtually several times in different capacities over the last few years. I know he's been really doing the game accessibility consulting and advocacy work for, I would say, probably at least a decade now. I became familiar with him in probably around 2015, 2018, somewhere in that range. I remember seeing a video that I think it was at the first game accessibility conference. I had seen a video about him doing something. I followed him on Twitter, and we messaged a few times back and forth. It was cool chatting with him. Like, he was always, and not just for me, for anybody. He was always willing to help out somebody and encourage people and help people. I was reading through Twitter or X all day yesterday and just seeing what people were writing about Brandon, how many people that he affected in some way, how many people he literally got to start doing technology accessibility, game accessibility work, how many people he got into specific games like Hearthstone, Forza, World of Warcraft, The Last of Us, Diablo, just so many things, and like how many blind and visually impaired people or people with disabilities are now streaming or creating YouTube content because of him. Just seeing so many people say that kind of a thing. Like he was never really in it for himself. He wasn't in it for fame. He wasn't in it like to get, oh, I'm going to become super rich. I'm going to become super famous. But he just, he wanted people to, he loved games and he wanted to play them himself, and as did many, many of us as well. And he just wanted to get out there and advocate for people with disabilities, people who were blind or visually impaired, um, so that we could enjoy games just like everybody else could. Um, but like I said, I think I really started talking to him around 2017, 18-ish, somewhere in there, over Twitter. Um, and since then, we've talked off and on, DM'd on Twitter/X, up until a few weeks ago. He literally referred me to somebody who was looking for um, some business was looking for someone to work with who was blind or visually impaired. That's I don't want to say any more than that at the moment, but he literally threw my name out there, and I thank him. Like, he's done that a few times. Again, not just for me, but for any number of people. That's the thing, is like he would do the game accessibility advocacy and consulting himself, and he was damn good at it. But he would also, it's like, oh, well, my expertise is blindness. But, oh, you want to make your game more accessible to people with hearing impairments or people with low vision, whatever it happened to be, mobility. He knew, he worked with so many people, networked with so many people, and he would know, well, I may not know that, but I know who can help you. And he was always able to and willing to just like, hey, let me, if I don't know it, I know who can. And he would put in a good word for you. Um, he would do that for everybody. Um, but yeah, so I talked to him on Twitter off and on, and then in 2020, there's this little game that happened to come out called The Last of Us Part 2, and I was blown away. I had played The Last of Us Part 1 on the PlayStation 3, and it was great. I loved it, but I struggled in a few areas for sure. There were definitely points in that game where I struggled. And I was going to try, I was going to play The Last of Us Part 2 regardless. But then a few weeks before release, Naughty Dog put out that epic blog post about what they were doing for accessibility, what types of features they were including, over 60 accessibility features in that game. And it was well beyond anything any of us had ever seen in a AAA game. It was the usual stuff, but then you had, wait a minute, this game is going to be playable to the totally blind? It's going to be playable by people without any usable vision? No way. And then I learned that Brandon was one of the consultants that worked on that game, especially to get it to be more accessible to the blind. And because of Brandon's work in that game, uh, we, so many people who had never even played a game like that before, were now able to enjoy one of the hugest AAA games to ever be released. Like, it was getting a lot of buzz regardless um, in the mainstream gaming sphere. But now on top of that, it's like we get this whole new group of people that are able to enjoy that game because of what Brandon did, and it was just so eloquent. It was so damn good because I've been doing my YouTube channel since like 2012, and I've been trying to do advocacy, trying to do consulting myself, and I love 3D games. I love first-person shooters. I played so much like Left 4 Dead, and first-person shooters and stuff, and third-person games like The Last of Us. And I'm thinking, I absolutely love these games, but I just couldn't wrap my head around how do you make these giant 3D environments, these complex 3D environments, not only navigable, but intuitive, so that a totally blind person could play through them without being like really clunky or overwhelmed. And I knew it could be done, but I just didn't have a clue how. And after again experiencing The Last of Us Part 2 and what Brandon and Naughty Dog had done, I was, like I said, I was blown away because not only did it work, but it worked so well. It was so damn intuitive. You had being able to just click in the stick and track your objective. You had the sonar for tracking enemies, tracking um, collectibles and interactables. So many other different types of like gameplay assists and the way that everything read the text to speech so smoothly. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I digress. I remember reading through that, and I remember messaging him on Twitter, going, "Dude, congratulations, man! That is amazing. You did. I can't wait to play this." I was so happy for him. And then it's like, it was right before launch or right at launch, and I popped into one of his streams because I didn't have the game yet. It hadn't unlocked yet for me, and he was streaming it and just kind of showing off some of the accessibility, and I was again just blown away at like, really, this is how well this is going to work. And then that next day, I had taken the day off. I think it was a Friday. Um, I took that day off because I knew this was going to be a landmark accessibility event. I was going to stream it, and I did. And I like it. It's a grim game, man. Like the subject matter, the characters, and everything they go through. But at the same time, it was a joy to play because I didn't have to fight the game. I didn't have to fight the inaccessibility of the game. I could do stealth, I could do combat, I could do the exploration, the traversal, thanks to the work that he had done. Um, when I streamed it that launch day, I remember him popping into my stream, and he was answering questions. I think he did that like he was doing that for everybody when that was coming out. I would watch other people's streams, and Brandon would be there. I remember, I said, he's like, I didn't, because I don't have any vision, but like I remember him asking me, how does the magnifier work? Is that really cool? And I tried it out when he was in there, and again, I was blown away at how well it worked. But I mean, he's just like, I want to know everything. Like, this is so cool. But he was answering questions, and then I remember like the snowball fight at the beginning of the game, and just the chatting, kind of us just laughing back and forth. Um, Such a cool memory. Another streaming memory I have is he would regularly pop into my streams, and it was always fun talking with him. He was always kind of making you laugh and stuff like that. But there was this audio RPG creation game called Sable, and I don't know what the status of that is. If it's gone defunct now, if it's gone, but it had so much potential. They released a about a month long demo a couple of years ago, and I remember streaming it, and it was really cool, but I was sort of confused by it. And Brandon popped into my stream, and I think he was working with that developer too. And he had played it, and he was like, he was helping me out, answering questions and giving me ideas on, oh, did you know you could do this, or dude, try this thing out. It's really cool. I'm like, okay, okay. So I was making like a little town, and I don't know if I ever gotten far enough to make a quest or anything, but it was fascinating, and he was super helpful with that. Um, my favorite streaming memory with Brandon, though, was when the Stanley Parable, the deluxe edition, came out a couple year or two ago. And this is a first person exploration, just a funny game. I mean, I love the original, and the remaster, deluxe edition, whatever you want to call it, was just as funny. It was just as great. And Brandon was there for most of that stream, and it was just like, it would have been fun regardless, but Brandon made that stream just really fun and funny because we were laughing at all the jokes. And he's like, dude, how are you not, I remember him specifically saying, how are you not, but I'm trying to, I would laugh, but I was trying to kind of maintain some, like, calmness and not going completely weird because I was streaming. But he's like, how are you not busting a gut right now? How are you not just bursting out laughing? This is great. But I said, I so wish that game would have been made playable to totally blind players, because that was just right up his alley. He loved, like I said, the sense of humor in that game. That was just a game right for Brandon. Um, that was one of my most memorable, one of my most fun streams that I remember having. Period. Um, and Brandon was there. I've worked with him a couple of times in like the whole consulting realm as well. Um, well, consulting and advocacy. Like I said, he's done so much. I don't want to ramble on and on. I don't want this video to be super long, but I just, like I said, it's not about me. It's about Brandon, because it's about SuperBlindMan. He's just accomplished so damn much. He had the Breakdown Walls podcast. I really enjoyed listening to that. And I want to thank him for inviting me to just be a tiny part of it a couple times. I talked to him once about gaming in VR. But my most memorable time, we retweeted it, reposted it yesterday, was he invited me to step in to. We did this like 2.5 hour just beastly summary of E3 2021, one of the last E3s, and we went through everything, and it was so fun just commenting on the games and laughing about stuff. And I remember specifically the Xbox showcase, and that was when Microsoft was really cranking on Game Pass, and it was it almost became like a joke or a meme. It was like, and it's on Game Pass. And then there's this other game, and say it with me, It's on Game Pass. We just say it like that. It was really fun. But that was, like I said, that thank you for inviting me to be a part of that. Um, it was really cool. Um, I did get a chance to work with him professionally. I can't really say any specifics, but I remember a year or two ago we were both on a kind of a consulting panel for a company virtually, and just hearing him talk, about his experiences and the way he, just got the developers and got people to, listen and kind of understand things from his perspective. And it was really cool being on a panel with him. Those are some of my memories of Brandon, but like I said, he's done so much more. Um, we lost him way too soon. I mean, I'm still shocked. It's not right. It is not right at all. Um, what I can really say is, I mean, professionally, personally, Brandon was just a cool dude. He was just, fun sense of humor. Always going out there willing to help people, um, boost other people up. Um, he was just there for people. I talked about The Last of Us Part 2, but I mean, he's been a major consultant for so many recent games. Like I said, if you are blind or visually impaired and you have played a recent accessible PC game or console game in the last several years, odds are he had something to do with it. Um, SuperBlindMan was probably involved in some degree, if not a major degree. Um, The Last of Us Part 2. He's the one that got me and many, many, many other people into Hearthstone. That's a type of game that I've never been opposed to playing, but it's just been a genre that I and many other people just likely avoided because how are you going to read all the print on the cards? And how are you going to be able to play it efficiently, let alone at all? And I know he worked with the Hearthstone Access mod creator, and he got me pretty hooked on Hearthstone for a short while. Um, and I know he got many, many other people into Hearthstone amongst many other games through his podcast or just talking to them on social media or whatever, doing a stream, and then people would see and go, "Oh God, I can play this." Um, any number of ways. His YouTube channel, again, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. Usually for these videos where I just talk, I have my desktop or my YouTube channel up. But it's only appropriate that we're just, I don't really want to be on camera. But I thought it would only appropriate to have Brandon's YouTube channel page up as the background, and I will put a link in the description below so that you guys can go check it out for yourself. And again, if you are blind or visually impaired or interested in game accessibility, if you're a developer, an advocate, a consultant, whatever, just in any way, if you're interested in game accessibility, check out his work. Like I said, it sucks that we lost him, but he will not be forgotten. He will be remembered. Um, he his work will be felt in the industry for many, many, many years. Um, you know, look at where we were at like 2015. Look at where we are now. The Last of Us Part 2, Hearthstone Access. Mortal Kombat 1, he was a major consultant in that game. Look at how, I knew I had some blind friends that we used to play fighting games in the 90s. Um, but we'd never gotten a fighting game. Like I remember Skullgirls. That was one of the first like screen reader accessible games I remember playing, but natively Mortal Kombat 1 was it was a fighting game with the level of accessibility that many of us have been dreaming of for years. The menus, the move lists, any text, the invasion mode, everything was just fantastic. Thank you to everybody involved in that, including Brandon. And then we get to Forza Motorsport last year. Wow. Again, um, Brandon was the major consultant, accessibility consultant for that game. And like The Last of Us, I was blown away. I remember at the 2019 Game Accessibility Conference, I talked to someone on the Turn 10 team, and I had a funny feeling that within the next few years, Forza was going to have some level of accessibility. And Forza Horizon 4 did have some. It was, decent for what it was. But never would I dream that the accessibility of Forza Motorsport would be what it was and so soon. Again, the amount of detail. I remember talking with him about it, with Brandon about it, and it was. I mean, I remember playing the game thinking, "Ah, this is amazing!" Like, not only do you have menu narration, you have extra audio cues, but everything was thought out so well to where, like, oh, the order in which the screen reader would speak things or how it spoke things, what was too much so you didn't get overwhelmed with sound effects and speech going on at the same time. The verbosity of the just the verbosity options that you could customize for the text to speech. I hadn't really seen that level of detail before. How little, how much you wanted spoken, what order, um, speed, voices, volume levels. I mean, there's so much there. I can't do it justice right here, but I was so dang impressed. And I remember playing the game. I remember doing a video for it, and I shared it with him. And he direct messaged me. I was literally yesterday. I was reading through our direct message history on Twitter/X, and just looking through our conversations and going down memory lane. And I remember he replied, he's like, "Man, thank you for recording that. Can I please share it with the team?" When I was watching it, I was grinning like the whole time, um, because it was clear that what we had done worked, and it worked really well. He was so proud of that, and I don't blame him. I would have been too. But like I said, so many memories. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to wrap it up here, but again, I've said it probably two, three, four times already, but like, again, if you love video games and you're at all interested in game accessibility, Brandon, SuperBlindMan, he's one of the first people that comes to mind when I think of game accessibility. People say, "Oh, who would you recommend in game accessibility, or who do you know?" One of the first people that comes in my mind, right up there with a few other people, like the old school originals, man. Ian Hamilton and Brandon Cole. He's right up there. Like he's one of the first people that I would mention. Um, and again, not just professionally, but like I said, personally, always being available for people, answering questions, helping people out, referring people um, to work or getting them started doing streaming, doing advocacy, doing consulting. He was just doing it all, man. Um, he was actually in the process of writing a book. And I saw a tweet about it last night before I went to bed. I don't know if it, he had like the first draft of it done, and so they're gonna see if they can try to get it still published, and I would be eager to read it. I'm sure it's awesome, and I would love to read it. He's just done so many things. Oh, he's done audio description work. I remember watching the one of the E3 shows. I think it was the 2021 where they had Ubisoft, and it was what was it called? Rainbow Six Extraction. They had a trailer and a gameplay demo segment, and I remember like, hey, I know that person. Cool, dude. Again, I reached out. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Congratulations. So he was involved in that and wanted to do more. um, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else really there is to say, but like I said, in the last 10 years, he's had a huge impact on the game accessibility community. Um, and, AAA indie games wouldn't be where they are without a lot of the work that he's done. Loads of respect for SuperBlindMan. And going forward, it's been great to see all the comments and support for him the last day or so after everyone started hearing about it. But it's been a really uh, it's been really interesting reading what people had to say, and it's been really cool to see that. But at the same time, it sucks so much because he said he impacted so many people. And going forward, I mean, really the only thing that we can do is, like for me, I'm not giving up. I'm still going to reach out to developers, app developers, game developers, indie, AAA, whatever. Um, and I will, just try to continue advocating for accessibility so that we can still, blind and visually impaired people with disabilities can play the games just like everybody else. We can use the same devices, software, products, games as everyone else. And that's what Brendan would want, you know? Um, I can only imagine what plans he still had up his sleeve and what projects he might work on next. Um, but I think the best way to honor his legacy going forward is to really kick it into high gear and keep doing what we're doing. It's hard sometimes. It can be tiresome trying to reach out and getting no for an answer. It can be hard, you know, almost being a mascot, regularly being a mascot for someone with a disability. Like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? Or any number of things. It can get tiring. But I think it's still worth it, and I'm still going to continue to do it. I'm sure as many of us will, and I think that's the best way to honor what Brandon, SuperBlindMan, has done in game accessibility, and we should definitely strive to do the same thing going forward. Um, and I know I saw a couple of posts yesterday from a couple of different people with the suggestion that Jeff Keighley in the Game Awards, instead of having it just called the Innovation and Accessibility Award, which is a good name, by the way, but don't know of an exact name, but really, um, they started that award in 2020. Very appropriate year, again, with The Last of Us just dominating. And for sure, that was the standout accessibility title for that year. Not to forget any of the other games that year too. But man, such a groundbreaking game, and based on the work that he had done. But like, there was a suggestion from a couple people that they rename the Innovation and Accessibility Award to honor Brandon, like the Brandon Cole Memorial or SuperBlindMan um, Accessibility Award, and I would totally be down with that because he's done so much for the world of game accessibility that I think that would be very appropriate, and I would love to see it. I know he was a member of the Future class one year. There's a Game Awards that got this whole Future class every year, people to recognize for what they do. And Brandon was one of the early ones, and again, well deserved. I am going to quit rambling here. Again, I'm not doing this. This isn't even monetized. I'm not doing this for views, for clicks, for clout. You've heard a lot of my personal stories. You've heard a lot of my. I wanted to share some of them, not just, I wanted to share some of my positive memories and experiences working with Brandon over the last few years, and just working with other people who have worked with him. Like I said, he's just been really impactful, and we'll miss him for sure. I've never met him in real life, but I've talked to him so many times, even over voice a few times, and I would still call him a friend. I was hoping that we would get to meet maybe at a game accessibility conference one year or at a consulting gig or something, but like I said, I would still call him a friend and a colleague, but a friend. Um, my best goes out to Misty and the rest of Brandon's family. I can't even imagine, what you're going through. As people have said many times on X or Twitter the last day or so, we're all here for you guys. I don't know what else there is to say. I don't want to ramble on too much, but rest in peace, Brandon. I hope you're in a better place. And thank you for everything that you've done and for all the great memories, man. Rest in peace.